Ufa, Russia, September 26, 2025. A fight night that didn't scream superstardom but quietly carried consequences. Two men stood in the ring not as champions, not as contenders, but as fighters still trying to prove they belonged in the conversation. Olympic qualification dreams had already slipped away for both. This was about momentum now, about survival in the professional system, about who still had a future worth investing in. Bekkhan Israelov entered first, fighting on home soil, carrying the weight of Russian boxing expectations. Third place at the Russian Championships as an amateur told insiders everything. That bracket is unforgiving. You don't place there by accident. You survive it by learning discipline, patience, and endurance. Israelov wasn't flashy. He wasn't hyped, but he was consistent, intelligent, and quietly confident. This was only his second IBA.PRO appearance, and he knew another solid performance could unlock bigger cards, better opponents, real traction. Across the ring stood Iman Ramezanpour of Iran, taller, longer, southpaw, a bronze medalist at the World Military Games, a tournament that strips fighters of comfort and forces them into pressure cookers. On paper, he looked like the stronger man, physically imposing, internationally tested, the kind of fighter who, if he controlled range, could make the night miserable for anyone standing opposite him. The referee called them together. Instructions were clear. No holding, no pushing, protect yourselves, touch gloves. What wasn't said hung heavier in the air. 6 rounds to prove who still mattered. No belts, no shortcuts, just work. As the bell rang, neither man wasted time feeling the moment out. This wasn't going to be cautious. This was going to be earned. From the opening exchanges, the optics suggested one thing, but the rhythm told another story. Ramezanpour had the height, he had the reach. On paper, this should have been an outside fight. Long jabs, measured steps, southpaw angles forcing Israelov into mistakes. But fights aren't fought on paper, they're fought on tempo. Israelov stepped into range immediately, snapping his jab without loading up, touching the body early, letting Ramezanpour know he wouldn't be given space freely. The Iranian responded with a left hand to the body, but it arrived alone, singular, non-committal. Israelov's shots, by contrast, came in pairs, not heavy but frequent, not destructive but irritating. What stood out wasn't power, it was comfort. Israelov looked relaxed at close quarters. He worked inside, bumped shoulders, punched on the way out. Ramezanpour, despite being the bigger man, kept falling into exchanges where size mattered less than timing. His jab flicked rather than snapped. His feet followed late. Every time he looked ready to impose himself, Israelov was already gone, already punching. The referee's voice became a background noise, no holding, a warning that would repeat itself all night. Ramezanpour tried to slow the pace, tried to lean, tried to clinch moments away. Israelov punched through those moments, short rights, compact lefts, no wasted motion. By the end of the first round, neither fighter was hurt, but one had worked harder, and in professional boxing, that matters. The crowd sensed it. This wasn't explosive, but it was intense. The center of the ring belonged to whoever dared stay there longest. Israelov did, and round by round, that began to count. By the middle rounds, the fight's true currency revealed itself. Stamina. Ramezanpour was still landing. His left hand found moments. His strength showed in brief clinches and short exchanges, but every success came at a cost, and the bill was arriving faster than expected. Israelov's volume never dipped. His mechanics stayed clean. He didn't sit down on shots. He didn't overreach. He simply kept working. Punches piled up the way water fills a room, quietly, steadily, inevitably. A nose began to bleed. Swelling crept in under the eye. Nothing dramatic, nothing that would stop a fight, but enough to tell a story. Ramezanpour started reaching. When a fighter reaches, it's a confession. He wanted something big, something sudden, something that could change the rhythm. But every time he leaned into that left hand, Israelov beat him to the spot with a straight right. Clean, efficient, demoralizing. Inside, Israelov was busier. In the clinch, he was smarter. He punched while being tied up. He disrupted breathing. He refused to let Ramezanpour rest. The referee's warnings escalated, not because the fight was dirty, but because exhaustion makes fighters careless. This was where the fight quietly shifted from competitive to controlled. Israelov wasn't chasing a knockout. He didn't need to. He was managing space, managing effort, managing the scorecards. Ramezanpour, for all his toughness, was starting to look ragged. He'd win moments, a stiff left here, a brief surge there, but he couldn't own entire minutes anymore. At this stage, the question wasn't whether Israelov was ahead. It was whether Ramezanpour could find a way to disrupt a machine that never seemed to slow. And with each passing exchange, that answer became harder to find. As the fight moved into the later rounds, fatigue stopped being subtle. The gum shield came loose, not once but repeatedly. A detail casual viewers overlook but experienced eyes recognize instantly. That's not clumsiness, that's exhaustion. The referee took points, not out of cruelty, but out of necessity. Rules don't bend for fatigue. Ramezanpour fought on, credit where it's due, he never stopped trying. He set his feet and threw combinations. He searched for momentum swings, but every attempt was met with punishment in return. Israelov's right hand continued to find its mark, popping up from awkward angles, landing just as Ramezanpour tried to assert himself. What made this stretch so telling wasn't brutality, it was inevitability. Israelov looked like a man aware of exactly where he stood. He didn't rush. He didn't gamble. He applied pressure in layers. Step forward, punch, reset, punch again. When clinched, he worked. When separated, he dictated. Ramezanpour's corner had given him the only instructions that made sense. Increase tempo, force exchanges, leave nothing unused. He tried, but forcing tempo against a fighter built on volume is like trying to outbreathe the ocean. The ring felt smaller, the time between bells shorter. Every exchange cost more energy than it returned. The crowd understood it. The body language said it all. One fighter leaned forward, hands steady, eyes clear. The other gulped air, shoulders rising higher with each breath. This wasn't a collapse. It was a slow erosion, the kind that doesn't make highlight reels but wins fights. By now, the result felt written. The only question left was how the final chapter would read. When the final bell rang, there was no drama left to uncover, no controversy, no debate. Israelov had done his job thoroughly, professionally, without panic. The scorecards reflected what the fight had shown: consistent control, higher output, cleaner work, fewer mistakes, a clear decision victory. Some might call it a missed opportunity for a stoppage. Others would call it maturity. Israelov never needed to reach for something risky. He didn't chase moments. He respected the distance, respected the opponent, respected the win. Fighters early in their careers often lose fights trying to prove too much. Israelov avoided that trap. Ramezanpour walked away bruised but respected. Bigger, stronger on paper, but forced to fight at a pace that never suited him. He showed grit. He showed toughness. What he couldn't show consistently was control, and at this level, that's the difference. This fight won't live forever in highlight compilations. There were no knockdowns, no dramatic finishes, but promoters don't build careers solely on chaos. They build them on reliability, entertainment value, and intelligence. Israelov checked all three boxes. Fan-friendly style, high output, comfort in exchanges, the kind of fighter that fits well on televised cards, co-mains, undercards that need energy. In a sport where consistency is currency, this performance mattered. As the announcer raised his hand, it felt less like a celebration and more like a confirmation. Bekkhan Israelov didn't announce himself loudly. He didn't need to. He proved something more valuable, that he belongs.